I did want to cover this segment. Oh, I really do not like JD Vance. I did want to cover this clip. This clip got me. It showed me how uninformed. Oh my God, it just shows how uninformed he is. Okay. So JD Vance likes to praise, like a lot of people in the Republican Party these days, Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban is a strongman leader in Hungary who has slowly over time consolidated control over state institutions, has enriched himself and his buddies, engaged in rampant corruption scandals, helped party officials have helped cover up in the Fidesz party, pedophile. You can look up the scandals yourself, but offending pedophiles to like cover up their tracks, cover up the record of it, because they're their friends. They have been, found to be one of the most corrupt parties in Europe, with Hungary having the worst problem with public sector corruption of any EU member state. Viktor Orban has not only consolidated control of the press, but has also consolidated control of universities and the way education is taught in those universities. And recently, Fidesz party has performed pretty bad. The European elections historically, worst result in 20 years. Opposition is having massive protests. And the conservatives decided to align themselves with the strongman because he doesn't like the woke and he talks like Gru from Despicable Me. If you don't think he talks like Gru from Despicable Me, go Google a Viktor Orban speech in English. Anyway, JD Vance decided he was going to not only defend Viktor Orban, but say that Viktor Orban is like this beautiful visionary leader that we need to take tips and knowledge from, because we're just so silly and ridiculous. We haven't been able to figure it out, but those Hungarians, they've been able to figure it out. But then when he's asked, a simple follow-up question about how Viktor Orban actually governs his country, and it's not shown to be as so much filled with French fries and freedom, JD Vance kind of just pivots away and starts talking about something completely different. Listen to this.
Is successfully dealing with the left-wing domination of universities is Viktor Orban's approach in Hungary. I think his way has to be the model for us, not to eliminate universities, but to give the choice between survival or taking a much less biased approach to teaching. He seized control of state universities and put them in foundations that were then run by his allies. Is that what you're advocating be done in the United States?
Well, Margaret, what you're seeing in the United States actually is that universities are controlled by left-wing foundations. They're not controlled by the American taxpayer, and yet the American taxpayer is sending hundreds of billions of dollars to these universities.
So, to be clear, before we let him finish, his defense is, well, the left is unfair. It isn't. Well, actually, let me explain why it's good that he gave his allies control of universities, centralized control. His response is, but the left, that's his response. It isn't even in response to the concern or out the possible authoritarian tendency of this type of behavior. No, it's just about what the left.
Universities every single year.
I don't want taxpayers controlling education necessarily. Is that what you're advocating for? Federal government?
Margaret, what I'm advocating for is for taxpayers to have a say in how their money is spent. Universities are part of a social contract in this country. They educate our children. They produce important intellectual property. They get a lot of money because of it. But if they're not educating our children well, and
to be clear, you're at this close to being like, well, if we have federal dollars going to NPR, why shouldn't the government tell NPR how it should engage coverage? See how this can immediately deal with the nonpartisan nature or the bipartisan nature of these institutions.
And they're layering
it's going to make them like a partisan tool. And if you already think they're a partisan tool, the solution shouldn't be, okay, well, let's make it more partisan. The solution should be, let's make it less partisan. Parmesan cheese.
Our children well, and they're layering the next generation down in mountains of student debt, then they're not meeting their end of the bargain. I think it's totally reasonable to say there needs to be a political solution to that problem.
Well, America's universities still attract talent from around the world, as You've went to one of America's very top schools.
Look, there's still good things about American universities, but it's going in the wrong direction, Margaret.
But Viktor Orban in particular, as you know, I mean, he rewrote the Constitution, he neutered the courts, he has tried to control the media. These are not necessarily conservative principles. So why would you want to mimic him?
Well, look, I'm not endorsing every single thing that Viktor Orban has ever done. I don't know everything he's ever done. What I do think is on.
You brought up one thing that he did, and it was his takeover of the universities. And then she's like, do you think how he took over the universities was good? And then a minute and a half later, you're like, what, you think I should be endorsing what he did with the universities? What, you think I like everything he ever did? Like, you brought up one thing. There was one follow-up question, and you're immediately collapsing about like, well, I never necessarily endorsed the, Then why'd you bring it up? Why would you? It'd be like if I was like, man, I love South Korean work culture. The response, love South Korean work. South Korean work culture was horrible, Dylan. I mean, extremely long hours, low pay, the housing situation is terrible, the way the bosses treat. And then once that's all said, I'm like, I didn't say I liked everything. I mean, like South Korean work culture is like, I never really liked South Korean work. What? I brought it up. I brought this up as the thing that's good. Like, he could have brought up any number of policies that Viktor Orban that he thought was good at. Like, he could have been like, he's so anti-woke, or he could have made it some stupid culture war stuff. But instead, he decided to talk about the takeover of an institution. Then he's asked if he likes takeover of institution, and now he's flabbergasted.
On the university principle, the idea that taxpayers should have some influence in how their money is spent at these universities, it's a totally reasonable thing, and I do think that he's made some smart decisions there that we could learn from the United States.
Well, what? You just rejected his methodology, or at least ignored it and didn't answer questions about it. Fucking ridiculous, nonsensical. I don't want to watch this Dr. Phil Trump interview. At least I don't want to watch it now. If we're watching it, we're going to watch it another day. I just don't want to watch it. So we're not going to do that right now. Okay, guys? Okay, I hope you guys will forgive me. Oh, I just got to show you guys this beautiful Marjorie Taylor Greene moment. Can I just say, this is the type of stuff that, like, if God's real, like, you're going to hell for this. Like, actually.
The Democrats and the fake news media want to constantly talk about, oh, President Trump is a convicted felon. Well, you want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon. And he was murdered on a Roman cross.
Listen to that reduced cheer. Even they know it's sacrilege. Even they can feel the sacrilegeness pouring off the sides of that. Trump is just like Jesus. Get the fuck out of here. Ridiculous. Okay. Sorry, we're kind of just zooming past these stories quickly, but I just want to get through them because we got there's a lot of content at the time I was gone. I wanted to show this moment from David Pakman's show, because David Pakman's been having some confrontational conversation on the show recently. I've been just eating up like num 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 num, and I wanted to watch another where David Pakman was talking to a Republican Senate candidate from Minnesota on why some of his FEC filings, that has to do with his campaign filings, says that their campaign spent money at a strip club, and then his defense for his campaign having spent money at a strip club.
It was recently revealed you spent campaign donations at a strip club. Is that true?
That's not true.
Okay. It's been sourced very well by the Daily Beast. Where'd they get this information?
The Daily Beast, first of all, the Daily Beast is not a good source. That's number one. But number two, it wasn't well sourced even in that article at all. It was a reference to a campaign filing with the FEC that was not done properly.
Your claim is there were filings which said you spent campaign funds at a strip club, but they were incorrect filings.
No, they didn't say that I spent the funds at a strip club. Or no, let's say they didn't say that I spent the funds on strippers.
But it was spent at a strip club.
Well, strip club they sell food at the strip club, don't they?
So you were
It was a campaign purchase of food at a strip club. See, you don't understand. I needed to save my, see, if this was his personal money, he would have spent the money on strippers. But because this was campaign funds, he wanted to be fiscally responsible. Therefore, spend the money on the food at the strip club and then just watch the strippers dance for free. See, that's how you stretch your campaign stripper dollar.
You've spent the money on food at a strip club. Is that?
To be clear, in order to be at a strip club in many establishments, you have to buy food and or drinks in order to watch the girls dance. Just wanted that to be part of the record for those who haven't been to a strip club before.
More accurate?
You seem to be very unfamiliar with strippers and strip clubs and drag strip shows, so I'll inform you, maybe you aren't informed, that they do have food at strip clubs.
So what you're saying is the money was spent
did
at
you know
a strip
that though?
club.
Did you know that?
I know strip clubs have restaurants.
Have you ever been to a strip club?
One time.
Did you like the food?
No.
You got to go to better strip clubs then.
Okay. But so what you're saying is you did spend the money at strip clubs, but on food. Is that right?
Well, I'm not saying that I spent the money. I'm saying that there was a filing on my FEC report that shouldn't have been there and potentially should have been reimbursed by somebody who may have been at the strip club, but that there is food at the strip club. So to say it was spent on strippers is not based on factual evidence.
I didn't say that.
Especially not from the day you did.
I said strip club, not strippers.
No, well, okay. Well,
Which
that's
is the
what's
same thing you're
implied
saying,
by
right?
the Daily Beast.
It's the same thing you're saying, right? So we agree.
But that's what's been implied by the Daily
Money
Beast
was
and other
spent
people
at
as well.
a strip club by someone else in your campaign on
That's
food.
what's been implied by the Daily Beast and other mainstream media outlets as well.
And what's the truth?
I just told you.
Someone else bought food at a strip club with campaign funds.
No, I told you about the FEC filing. You seem to have a lot of time for this one.
Well, it's because you're so obviously lying.
Just that blunt ending. Because you're a fucking liar, dude. That's why I have time for it. Oh my god. Oof. Rough day for that man. Rough day for that man. Pro tip, don't use the campaign card at the strip club. That's going to be my pro campaign tip of the day. For any of you guys watching right now who are thinking about having a long career in politics, I would advise that you keep your money for sex workers in a different account than the one you have for your political campaigns. Just a suggestion. This one, what's this?
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to
45th President of the United States. 45th President of the United States. Trump is anti-shark? Trump watched a documentary, Jaws, and has never been the same since.